Hi, I'm Mary Lindsey Wilson, and welcome to the Lone Star Dowsers. My intention is to educate and inspire and interview wonderful people who are using dowsing in inspiring ways, and hopefully it will inspire you to be able to, take things and learn new tools and ways to use your dowsing. So, we are back tonight with Melinda Iverson and this is our take two. We had some technical difficulties last time, and it sounds like it was sort of divinely inspired because Melinda has really expanded and gotten very excited about what she's going to share tonight. So I will give you a little bit of background about her in case you are not aware of who she is. She's an internationally recognized subtle body dowser. She's an intuitive channel, and she's an author in the field of dowsing and self-development. She was voted ASD, American Society of Dowsers, in 2017, the Dowser of the Year by her peers for advancement in health dowsing. And Melinda has also devoted her life to spiritual and emotional development and awareness. She founded the IN method and dowsing to clear unconscious obstructions, crystal constellation clearings, and is the host of Wisdom Keepers of the Earth. It's a YouTube series. Melinda has masterfully been able to comprehend the most critical and deepest trauma issues. She offers depth to better understanding the subconscious mind, giving both the client and the listener an opportunity to understand their place in the universe. And when she isn't doing private consultations and speaking, teaching, or writing, she enjoys continuing her research with dowsing to raise spiritual awareness and communing with the land and her sea-dwelling friends. She comes to us from Hawaii, and so she also does private guidance readings. She does dowsing master classes. She does speaking requests. I think she was on Gaia recently. So welcome back, Melinda.
Hello, aloha. I'm grateful to be back here with you. I have expanded the information I was going to share the first time. So let's get started. I'm going to share my screen and we will move into...
And I think our topic was about basically receiving miracles, right? I know it's broader than that, but yeah, preparing to receive and opening our minds to miracles.
Yes, there we go. Let me hit slideshow button there. There we go. Okay, so we had talked about preparing to receive and open our minds to miracles. And because we're dowsers, we wanted to have some sort of a guide for giving and receiving healing. And I want to go through, here's what we're going to talk about today. And I have a lot to share, so we're going to deep dive. If at any point you have a question or you'd like to sort of ask something, we can stop, or you can wait till the end. I'll leave that up to our lovely host, Mary. So we're going to talk.
So if you have a question, if you'll put it in the chat, and I'll just keep checking in on the chat so it doesn't interrupt your flow, and then I'll let you know the questions.
Fantastic. Okay, so we're going to define healing. We're going to look at cosmic energy. We're going to look at some modern day healers and some extraordinary teachers. We're going to explore the self-healing goals and principles as laid out by a few of those teachers. We're going to look at subtle energies, miracle mindset, and then we are going to do a group self-healing. If you're interested, you can participate in that.
Absolutely.
So what is the meaning of healing? I went and looked for this. Just instead of getting the dictionary definition, I found this wonderful licensed social worker who created this research, and it was printed in the Annals of Family Medicine in 2005. And he talked to Dr. Cassell, these are all doctors, medical doctors, Kubler-Ross, Saunders, Dr. Siegel, we all know them. And this is what they had to say about the meaning of healing. For the most part, it was about wholeness, spirituality, and personal narrative. So making whole again, becoming whole again, finding wholeness, well-being and function, a state of mind, harmony between the mind, body, and the spirit, and a spiritual experience. So as you can see, they're sort of all moving in the same direction. They're looking at healing as a broader perspective. So healing is the personal experience of transcendence of suffering. This is almost sort of what he was beginning to consolidate and understand from all of the interviews that he did. Now, based on the Holistic Nursing Handbook for Practice, which was written and published in 2005, the process of bringing together aspects of oneself, body, mind, spirit, at the deeper levels of inner knowing, leading toward integration and balance with each aspect having equal importance and value. Each aspect that we're going to get into, what each aspect means. So this is the last slide on this one, but in summary, what Mr. Agnew found out was that healing was defined in terms of developing a sense of personal wholeness that involves physical, mental, emotional, social, and spiritual aspects of human experience. Illness threatens the integrity of personhood. So when we're ill, we feel distant and we feel not safe. And it isolates the patient, engendering suffering. And suffering is relieved by removal of the threat and restatement of the previous sense of personhood. So we begin to step into who we are. I saw that as an opportunity for us to really step into alignment with ourselves to help remove the suffering. We're going to see some people who do this magnificently. So there's some cosmic energies coming in. We have a lot of healing around that's happening right now. These are times around the healing idea of these cosmic energies and weather patterns, pressures affecting people. I wanted to talk about this just for a second, but I have these energy updates where I experience the conditions of what's happening on the physical body, and then we give positive actions that can help ease the impact of these energies. This time is when great love is the magic carpet that will carry us on through the winds of change. I found that written in my diary. I was flipping through the pages and there it was. So love is really a key here. I just wanted you to know you have help. If you're suffering from what's happening, coming in energetically, we can help with that. It's a free YouTube video that we try to put out once a month of what's happening. So
is that if somebody subscribes to your channel, they can find that?
Yes, if you just go to @MelindaIversonN on YouTube, you'll see it's a playlist along with the Wisdom Keepers of Earth. So here are some modern healers. Now, I know these people are healers. I've read these books inside and out. I have studied them. I started out with Harry Edwards years ago. He is an amazing healer. He passed away in 1976. I can't believe he was still alive when I was still alive, and I didn't, know. It's like we know when we know later. He did hands-on healing. He did distant healing. He would receive hundreds of thousands of letters. He was located in England, the UK, in Sheer. The healing sanctuary is still there, but I'm not sure where they are in terms of their classes and things. But this book helps you learn about how he did it, where he came from, and he was a last resort for many. There was no cell phones. People would write to him letters, and he would do distant work on those that he could, and miraculous things would happen, just miraculous healings. really dig into him if you're interested in healing, because he's amazing. And he has many books out. Weaving the Dream, Mabel McKay. Greg Saris wrote this book. He was a Wisdom Keepers of Earth interviewee. As a guest, I interviewed him, and we talked about Mabel. Mabel was the last Pomo Indian sucking doctor. She was called the sucking doctor, and she had a 200-mile radius. She would work all day in a cannery and then be called upon to do healing. And they would do amazing healings where she would go to someone's house and she had a monarch butterfly rattle that was handmade. She would have an elderberry clapper, and she would sing and she would dance. And when it was called for, she would literally suck something out of people. She sucked a fish out of a woman's eye. There's a great story in there about that, this little fish. But Mabel was also known for her baskets, and she has permanent collection baskets in the Smithsonian. Her baskets were so tight they could hold water, and she used them for healing. She would make special baskets for people who were doing healing work, where you could suck something out and then spit it into a basket that you would have either pinned or near you. A remarkable woman, remarkable. Best to look into her too. Lou Smith, his son Philip Smith, wrote this about his father. It's called Walking Through Walls. His father Lou Smith started out as an interior decorator. He lived in Florida in the 50s. Was probably the first vegan, you name it, whatever the macrobiotic guy ever. He was a dowser. And one day, after doing this flourishing business of his interior decorating, people would fly him and his wife all over the world to do interior decorating of their homes. He discovered he had a healing gift, gave all that up, and just focused on using dowsing. And he had, if you look up Philip Smith and Walking Through Walls, and you can get to a website where they show an image of Lou Smith's antidotes. He had these vials that were empty. They looked empty. And he would douse a person, and then he would choose which antidote he had that would help them. Pretty amazing, amazing stuff. He was arrested 3 times for practicing medicine without a license until someone suggested that he get a minister card. And so this book is great. It's called Walking Through Walls because his son came home from, I think he was in high school, walked home late at night after a party. The house was completely locked up and dark. He had left his keys. He couldn't get in. He was knocking on the door. And he says in this book, the door opens and there's this lurch type of character. I don't know if you're familiar with Addams Family or not, the series, standing there in front of him saying, oh, you must be the son of Lou Smith. And he says, yes, I am. And the character holding the door open says, well, haven't you learned to walk through walls yet? So Lou Smith was very advanced, and he worked with very advanced beings. Cynthia Sue Larson is with us still. This quote from her I love because it relates specifically to our healing. So the range of our knowledge of reality is limited by our pre-existing beliefs, assumptions, and expectations. Now, this woman is an expert in Mandela effects. She's an expert, I would say, in timelines and working with people coming from moving from the 4th world to the 5th world. So from the heart into being able to speak our truth.
And she's a quantum physicist. I interviewed her, I
Yes.
think, last year. She's amazing.
Yes.
Yeah.
She's amazing. She's she's a great friend too. Now I want to talk about this man, Dr. Quan Van Nguyen, excuse me. So he is in a book. He wrote a book with this lady, Marjorie Pivar, who actually coaxed him into writing this book. The Fourth Uncle in the Mountain. Now, Fourth Uncle in the Mountain, what is this? This is a book about this itinerant doctor, who's Dr. Quang, and his father, Dr. Tao Van Yun. Now, he was adopted by Dr. Tao Van Yun, the enlightened monk doctor. There's a picture of him. He's enlightened, he's a monk, and he's a doctor. And Fourth Uncle in the Mountain is, it's a cave. So while Dr. Tao, I'm going to shorten his name, was teaching his adopted son, Dr. Quang, about the medicine available at that time and the mysteries that were available at that time in Vietnam, he had him go and stay with this fourth uncle in the mountain. And this man and fourth uncle in the mountain is called fourth uncle in the mountain because he was the fourth to sit in a chamber in the cave. Not only did he train Yuan, but he trained Yuan's father, his adopted father, and grandfather while living in the cave. So he seldom spoke, but he assigns Yuan various challenges testing his discipline and dedication outside the cave. And this fourth uncle was also known to show himself as a tiger, in the form of a tiger, within the villages out. So this book, when I read this book, the stories in this book were just mind-blowing about how the young doctor kind of took off on the darker path, and realized, whoops, that's not the right way for me to go. I need to find my way back. They were both imprisoned during the Khmer Rouge, the very violent time then. They were both in a prison camp, and they managed to escape. But these two doctors are remarkable. And Dr. Quang was at his adopted father's medical practice, you'd say, his office, I guess, in Vietnam one day, very young. And a woman walked in, and his father had said, hold down the fort. I have to go do stuff, so to speak. I'm sure he didn't say that, but I'm leaving. You take care of whoever comes in. This woman came in and had some kind of illness about her. And I can't remember if it was skin lesions or something else. But the young doctor remembered that his father had told him that you can cure any disease by taking water in your mouth and spitting it on the patient. Now, this is before Beta Austin. Okay, this is way before water energizing, any of that was known. So he had told him that, and of course, this is what he does, and he talks about it in the book. So there's many instances of healing in this book, how he learned. It's a great read. And the one thing that really got my curiosity was that his father had said the cure always comes before the disease. And I am still sitting with that one. It's like a koan. You sit, how does that happen? Is it a message that comes? Is there a thing that happens? I don't know, but I love this book. And this man is still alive. He lives in Vermont, and he's part of a shiatsu network. He does guest teaching but he also sees patients at home. Remarkable, remarkable. Here's another, I want to talk about some extraordinary teachers that talk about healing in a sense of the purity of our mind. So I have studied Zen, Buddhism, as well as Hindu, Catholicism, Christianity, Protestant side, a whole list of things, spirituality. As a spiritualist, I was in the spiritualist church for a while, giving readings way before I knew about dowsing. So this is one of my books, my go-to books, is this Platform Sutra by Hunyang, who lived in China 638 to 713. He became the sixth patriarch. Now, get this. He was illiterate. He was a cook in the monastery there. No one really paid attention to him unless they were hungry. He became the sixth patriarch because the fifth patriarch, and this is all in the book, was ready to retire. He was ready to pass on the robe and the bowl. And he wrote on a wall a phrase. And he asked the monks, whoever wanted to write an answer to this phrase could step up and write this answer. And of course, the egos are all very involved, believe it or not. It doesn't matter what organization you're in. It doesn't matter if they're spiritual, whatever. There's always egos involved, right? So the one who thought he was going to become the next patriarch wrote an answer to this question, this phrase. The sixth patriarch, as he was not yet, asked the young boy to read the phrase to him, and then asked him to write his own answer on the wall next to it. Well, that evening, the fifth patriarch called the sixth patriarch in, Huineng, and said, "Here's the robe, here's the bowl, now flee because they will kill you." So the other monks were after him for 15 years. He had to hide before he could come out and start teaching. This is actually a picture of him on the right. When he went into his Mahasamadhi, as they say, they covered his body in gold leaf. And that's an actual picture of him. But what I love about him is that he talks about the essence of mind is intrinsically pure. And we get perturbed because we allow ourselves to get carried away by circumstances outside of us. If we can keep our mind unperturbed, irrespective of what's going on around us, then we can obtain samadhi, which is peace. So he says, hey, let's train ourselves, practice it, do what you can to maintain your own effort and maintain your peace. That is the pathway to enlightenment. Now, he was the head of the school of the sudden enlightenment, where people actually suddenly became enlightened. You can look him up. You can read this book. Red Pine is a wonderful translator. He does Heart Sutra and Diamond Sutra. Excellent story. Now, Paramahansa Yogananda, another, autobiography of Yogi. If you have not read it, please pick it up. He also talks about stillness is the altar of spirit. So what they're all saying is the healing comes from this idea of stillness, being connected to the spirit, and not paying attention to all the things that are going on outside, sitting in the stillness, concentrating on your own breath, being in your own peace, because that is where everything radiates from. Now, this book has many stories of extraordinary healings. I mean, off the hook stuff, like, a yogi being chased by the police through Benares and had his arm cut off and picked up his arm and ran away. And the next day, the police they felt so bad, they went looking for him and they found him sitting somewhere, and his arm was completely reattached. It didn't even look like nothing happened. Didn't look like anything happened.
Wow.
So you must look at these older masters. They have so much to share with us about healing. Autobiographical Yogi also talks about his teacher, Sri Yukteswar, who also did a lot of healing work for people who were non-believers and extended their lives even. It's important. This is a great book. Now, Steve Jobs, this was his go-to book. And George Harrison, they would pass these out all the time. And according to what I read, Steve Jobs would read this annually. I'm sure he would pick it up. So how to attain self-realization, you can go that route if you'd like to.
So these are all books and healers that have made a profound impact and kind of shaped your methods?
Yes. Yes, they have, because they're helping me remember to believe in what I think are miracles can be everyday occurrences. Hello, right? I mean, we're talking about yogis that can walk through walls. We're talking about people who can be in the same place, two different places at the same time. We're talking about apporting and teleporting, food, objects. It's all in this book. So I was interested at a very early age, and I became a Kriyaban. I did study the Kriya Yoga of Paramahansa Yogananda. Now, I recently learned about Jack Schwartz, and the reason I learned about Jack Schwartz was because my husband found this article that was sent to him, and he sent it to me. Jack Schwartz, there's a picture of him on the left, was a Holocaust survivor. He was Dutch. He was not Jewish. He was Dutch. He was a writer. He fought in the resistance, and he was captured twice by the Nazis. They tortured him beyond belief. And at one point, they had tortured him so much, I think he had a God realization moment. He said that Jesus came to him and said, "You will have absolute control over your body." And it happened. So he would travel around, and my husband actually saw him in San Francisco. He would lay on a bed of nails, and there would be puncture wounds in his back. And he would walk through the audience. And by the time he got back to the stage, his back would be completely healed. Here he is. They're doing a research paper on him, and they're hooking up electrodes to his brain, and he's sticking a knitting needle through his arm, completely in and completely out. This is this is one of the books that he wrote. This is the second. The voluntary controls is there's a part 1, part 2. This is the part 2. I have this book. They're out of print. They're hard to get a hold of, but if you find it, he has breathing exercises. He has mind exercises, things you can do. And this picture of him was taken later on in his life. If you go to YouTube and you look up Jack Schwartz without a T, you'll see him give an interview. He was in Oregon. There's 4 videos of him that are really wonderful. He was a wonderful man. And the one thing that he talked about was he was able to distance himself from his physical body. So he would say, that arm instead of my arm. You know who else could do that was Mahatma Gandhi. So Gandhi went through an appendectomy without any anesthetic. He would happily chat away at whoever was in the room with him. No anesthetic whatsoever. So there was a way to bring himself, Jack and Mahatma Gandhi, into a place where there was a non-identification with that physical system to that degree. However, Jack could also say, while he's doing this experiment, he would say, well, do you want it to bleed or not, you know. And so he could control the blood flow, whether it bled, whether it didn't bleed. Anyway, look up Jack. Really beautiful man, great YouTube interview. I love Patrick McManaway, and this is one of the extraordinary miracles that he did. He was called in because, as you can see, there was on the left-hand side where his dog is, there's no water there. That tree that's crossing the road on the right upper corner, no water whatsoever. The landowners had asked if he could bring in the water, bring it back. Now, what Patrick does, which is really fascinating, and he's, you know, second, third generation healer, I believe, because both his parents, his mother was an extraordinary healer, and so was his father. His father was in Dunkirk, young, low-ranking soldier who didn't have any means to help any of the soldiers in Dunkirk, and discovered he had healing abilities. That was what he used. And his mother was apparently really amazing healer as well. On the right is where the water came in. So he didn't do anything. He walked the land, and he's on my Wisdom Keepers. He told me this. He walks the land until he finds the right spot, then he just sits down and he meditates there. And this is what happened. So, you know, this isn't stuff from ages ago, people. This is stuff from, maybe 20 years ago. You know, we have access to this. It's amazing. Okay, so here's Harry reminding us that the healing power comes through us and we're not it. That's where the ego gets to take a step back, right? Okay. Now, I studied with a student of Bob Mahaney, Robert J. Wade Mahaney. This is when I was able to actually realize that he was my teacher's teacher. And I was on this seeking path of healing. I had four different manuscripts that are out of print come my way. Like, just amazing, because Bob was a dowser. He was at West Coast Conference. He lived in San Carlos, Northern Cal area. And he did extraordinary work. And a lot of my work is based on what he was teaching and how he did it and how he was able to help people. And he did amazing things. I met a woman who was healed by him as a teenager of a blood disease. She's now an amazing dowser and healer that I met, who took one of my classes, and she came forward, and it was just astonishing to meet someone who had experienced him. So he's saying, look, you release the traumas, emotional traumas, and then everything else will follow, will heal. You can use your intuition, or you can douse it and ask all parts of your body to heal itself. So here we are going back to Jack and Mahatma Gandhi and Paramahansa Yogananda and Mabel McKay and all these people that had an understanding of how healing works. You can talk to your body. You can ask it for healing. This is Pete Warburton. Now, Pete Warburton was a friend of Bob Mahaney. He was also a West Coast dowser. And I did not know anything about Pete or Bob. I went to the West Coast Dowsing Conference, and they asked, this was when Karen Ashley Tippett was running West Coast Dowsers before she passed. I said, yeah, I'll share a table. Just hook me up with whoever you think is, going to work with me, and we'll share. She hooks me up with Pete. I'm looking at Pete's papers and I'm looking at my papers, and they're the same charts. And I'm saying to him, where did you get these healing charts? Look, I have them too. So Pete was on the same wave as Bob and took it to another degree and moved on. And he put these together as a goal for self-healing. And you can see Joe Whippich is in there. I'm not going to read them out loud to you. You can read them through. But the one that's the most important that I need you to understand is the release all blocks, absorbing all energies you need from earth and sky. This is important. Most cancering clients are not connected to the earth and sky. So you want to make sure that if you're working with someone who's cancering, that they're connected to Mother Earth and Father Sky. The energy goes up the back and down the front, up the back and down the front. So I have found this to be true when I've worked with cancer clients. I look at them, I say, oh, they are disconnected. So that is a way to connect. Now, what I've learned, and it's been said before, is that most of the time, all levels of the being are involved in the healing process. So the mental, emotional, spiritual, astral, karmic, physical, they're all involved. Because when you change one system, they all change. But it depends on where you're coming in. So if you're looking at the etheric body or the physical or the mental or the emotional, you want to bring each into balance. And that's a good place to start when you're working with a disharmony. Where's the place you need to go first to bring in that harmony and balance? Do I need to go to the etheric, the astral, the mental, the causal, the egoic, the soul? Do I need to look at the physical? When you can identify these different levels, because I'm not Harry Edwards, and because I'm not Bob, and because I'm not Mabel, I'm me, and I'm going to do the best that I can with the information that I have to bring a healing. And I think that if we can understand these multidimensional levels, we can begin to shortcut. So if you're doing work on yourself and you're in alignment and you're able to keep the peace, be unperturbed inside of you, that's the place where you can begin to bring healing to others. But we got to clean ourselves first, because you need to have the space in order to help someone else. Or you need to be really good at backburnering your own stuff when it gets lit up in order to help someone else. So, okay. Now, subtle energies. This is what I learned, and the reason I put the book covers there is because this is all there. And at the end of the PowerPoints, I show all my books, and I think it's just confusing to people. So here is the levels that I go through. This is not all of them, but these are the basics. So first of all, you ground. You make sure you're connected, breathe, do physical movement like Tai Chi. Make sure, especially with all these swirly, twirly cosmic energies and weather pressures happening, staying grounded, connected to earth and sky, and breathing and doing physical movement is important. The next thing I look at is, are they connected? So grid connection. I've given it a phrase here of broken down grid to guidance, rhythm, and inspiration with the divine. I haven't written the book yet, but it's coming.
So what does that actually mean? Could you delve into that a little bit more?
Yes. So it's the grid. It's when you're connected to your own divinity. When someone is ill or going through a trauma or has hit some kind of block in what's happening with them, their connection to their own guidance, rhythm, and inspiration with the divine lessens. It gets either really skinny, so it's like a choked off pipe, like the maybe going from the size of a big column to a tiny, tiny little thread of a piece of floss. That squeezed in, that contraction. That's when we talk about the etheric grid, being connected to the grid. And that grid is the guidance, rhythm, and inspiration with the divine within you. That's the absolute second place I go when I look at someone. If their grid isn't connected, they're going to have trouble receiving what you're trying to give them. The next place I go is the energetics, of course. Look at cords, possessions, unhealthy entanglements. You all know these things. The next place I go is I look at the etheric body. And this is a book, so you can find this etheric body book, and the energetic cords and possessions and entanglements and stuff are in the orange book, and the brown one is looking at rays, meridians, glands, chakras. The etheric body came about Helen Burmester, who was part of the Theosophical Society, and John Leadbeater used this etheric idea. You can look for it back in the 20s. Okay, now emotional. This is a volume 1, Dowsing to Clear Unconscious Emotions. This is all about release at the emotional level, whether it's abandonment, self-recrimination, loss of support, whatever. It's all there. That's the next place I go. I look. I say, okay, do I need to look at the emotional level? Next place I go, mental. Do I need to look at the mental level? What is the mental level? The mental level is the ego's view of itself or how other people view you, mental constructs that are not in alignment with your highest self, denials, confusions. And I will look at the spirit level. So the purple book deals with both the mental and the spirit. The orange one, just the emotional. So the spirit level says, what's my relationship to the divine? Does the client have a misunderstanding with that relationship to whatever their version of God is? You know, are they thinking God is like Santa Claus, or you get punished, or you get good things? Or, you know, are they feeling that God has abandoned them? Whatever it is, that's at the spiritual level. Now, physical.
Can we go back just a second?
Yes.
Okay. So I guess the 1, 2, 3, but
Want me to go back up?
No. So the etheric grid connection, kind of basically, you talked about that being guidance, rhythm, and inspiration with the divine within you. So is this next the number 7? You're spiritually. So that's
a different set. That's different level.
Okay.
Right. So the physical body is you, right? Then you have the etheric, which is like maybe, I don't know, 5 inches from the physical, and then they go out this way. And then you can
so that etheric is the divine within you, and then what you're talking about, number 7, spiritually, is your misunderstanding of your relationship with divine, God, source.
Yes. Right. So the etheric grid cuts through this number 7. The etheric grid is much bigger than that. So if you're not connected, none of this is going to make it. It's going to help because there's too much interference. Now, I've seen my grid's gone out when I fly. If there's too much radiation, I'm flying, or I'm watching a movie on the plane and I have an emotional response to the movie, sometimes my grid will go out. And I can feel it because for me, it manifests as a headache and I don't feel well. And it used to be when I first started doing this work, when I was trying to clean up as much as I could about myself, looking at all my traumas, lots, never ending. My grid would go out. I didn't know that. And I would be in bed for 3 days until I begged my teacher to teach me. I couldn't wait for him to call me back because I was in bed for 3 days, not figuring out why I felt so disconnected, why I felt such a heavy headache, why I was so depressed. It was just like all the perfect storm happening.
Okay, so just to recap,
But I'm not going to teach it right now.
Yes. so your these processes that you recommend from these wonderful teachers you shared, the subtle energies. So you're recommending that we go through these 7 steps in order, I guess, douse and check to see what things are to prepare to receive a healing, to receive the miracle, to...
Yes, not only to receive, but give, right?
Yeah.
Are you in alignment? Are you ready to give? Are you all good to go? And then these are the steps I use for clients. Now I'm doing this very basic. This is very basic. I'm trying to keep it really simple. And all of this is in the books. So I'm just sort of giving you a blueprint of how I look at things. And sometimes I only need to go to the emotional, or sometimes I only need to go to the mental. It depends on what I hear and what I douse. Because I'm clairaudient, clairsentient. So I see, hear, feel.
Right.
Okay. Is this making
sense? That helps a lot. Thank you.
Okay. I haven't written a book on the physical. I'm reading a lot of Harry Edwards right now on the healing intelligence, but I have begun to work in the physical realm with clients who are cancering and have other diseases. I've worked with hematomacrosis, which is a blood disease with a woman who had hereditary hemochromatosis. She now, she used to get phlebotomies like once a month. Then they went to once every 3 months. And now last time I spoke to her, she said it had been a year. But she was on it. She really wanted to heal that. I've worked with cancer clients now. And according to Harry, cancer is one of the easiest things to heal. So I'm working on releasing that block.
Awesome. We had a question in the chat about, let me see, schizophrenia.
Yes. That's a mental, yes. What's the question?
Can you heal someone who has schizophrenia?
I don't know. I have worked with people who have had mental issues. It depends on the person, if they want out, right? If they really want help, how much medication they're on and how long they've been taking it. And their willingness to participate and do that. Now, I'm not a Harry Edwards. I haven't yet gotten to the point where I can do distance healing and someone's called and said, wow, I'm cured. That hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
But I have worked with people who have had mental issues and who have been in and out of institutions, and it really depends on the person. So I can't heal that, but I'm willing to, help in any way that I can. If
I hear that it's a possibility, so I think
absolutely everything
is a question that they need to ask more questions. Is this person, willing and able, and then go through the list, right?
Well, are they willing and able to participate in their own healing. I mean, you know, I and a colleague of mine, we've both lost people to suicide who just, no matter what you do, that was their life experience. That's what they were going to do. And even Harry talks about why some of the healings don't work in his book. So it really does depend on the person. I did work with a lady recently. I got an SOS call from a woman who was not getting out of bed. Apparently she was gray. She had like gray stuff coming out of her mouth. She wasn't active. She was an epileptic as well. And they asked me if I could help her, and I dowsed yes. And after the first session, she was back swimming again. She was out and about. She was getting up. She had more energy. I saw her a second time, and she looked great. So, you know, it really depends on the circumstances and the person. And she's the second one that I had an SOS for, who was like, wow, people were really worried. The first time was a young woman, a teenager, about 25 years ago. I got an SOS call about a girl, and she just, her auntie was so nervous for her because she just didn't look right. You know, gray pallor, gray, nothing looked right. So anyway, I'm working on the physical. I have been told, I worked with a Buddhist nun for 23 years who became a therapist. And I was talking to her about the working at the physical level. And she said, but Melinda, that's the easiest one. I said, okay.
Yeah, I've heard that kind of by the time something manifests in the physical, that it's, you know, you've got other areas to address that. Yeah.
Well, you know, I would dispute, you know, that's the problem with the thinking, right? So our belief systems really get in the way of what we're thinking, how we're doing it, what we're doing it. You know, that to me is really the problem. If we can open our minds up and release all that stuff that we've been told about aging and about, you know, what we're supposed to look like or how we're supposed to do things, that is all nonsense. There's no there. You know, this is, and I'm, you know, I'm getting older. I know that, but I'm allowing for the possibility that, you know, I could live a healthy life for many, many years. I was just, Autobiography of a Yogi has a picture of a vibrant woman who's 115. She was specially trained and she worked with a yogi, but, you know, well, and there's a yogi in there that they report to be over 300 years old. And he has a great story in there about him. So I want to talk about, anything is possible, right? So I want to talk about connecting to the divine, right? So faith. So, you know, what is that? So once we can open our minds to the idea of life is a miracle, life is joy, you know, we're pure spirit, and all the rest of this is nothing. There's nothing there. It's, you know, it's just energy. We're pure energy. It's energy. And it gets down to actually pure light. So these are two quotes: walking as pure spirit. So connecting to your higher self, that's connected to that God self. You are that pure spirit, that humble, joyful, graceful, you know, you're that. I believe in you. I know all of you are that. And then Martin Luther King, of course, you know, you take the step even when you don't know see the whole staircase. Of course, that is brilliant. You just keep going. So I have a fireman joke for you. That's going to bring a miracle mindset because I want to set everyone up for success when we get to the doing part. So here's a quick joke. And I was told this by my friend Cynthia, so I'm going to paraphrase this whole thing. But apparently there was a big fire at a building, and and everyone was evacuated, but the only person there was the receptionist, and she was evacuated, and she was standing outside. And the building's on fire, and this fireman runs in, and he finds these bodies, and he revives 4 of the 5. And he's actually able to bring them out, and he revives them. And he goes to the receptionist, and he said, I'm really sorry. I saw 5, but I was only able to revive 4 of the people. And she looked at him in amazement and said, but this is a morgue. So what can you do when you don't know that you can, when there's no blocks, he was determined to save those people, and he did. So what does that do for us? It brings us harmony and upliftment. It brings us joy. It accelerates the healing process, and it changes the mindset so that miracles can happen at any moment. That's the mindset. It's not even a miracle is like something. It's not a thing. It's a way of our life. It's when we're in flow. Okay. Pathway to self-healing. This is before we get to the doing part. How am I doing on time?
You're doing good. We have 30 minutes.
Okay, because I'm zipping here. If I'm going too fast, somebody please.
You're doing great, because you wanted to walk us through a process, right?
Well, we're going to do a process, yes.
Perfect.
Okay, yeah. So I want to set us up for this process. So this pathway to healing, one of the things on the sheet that you got a download of was releasing fear. And one of the questions I remember was, how do you do that? So knowing that you will always have what you want or need, right? Releasing anger, grudges, connecting the heart by calming the mind. Competitiveness. We can all win. There's enough for everyone. Hello? There's never any scarcity. That is a mind game. Reconciliation, resolve conflicts and old wounds. That means forgiveness for self and others as quickly as you can. So these are the 4 things that will help us get towards where we want to go. Knowing that you will always have what you need or want. Nothing is ever held back from you. Nothing. You have everything you need. And it's not like there's a secret out there that you don't know. That doesn't happen. Spirit provides for us all the time. Now, releasing the anger and grudges, that's part of the reconciliation, but that's a way to do that is by connecting the heart and calming the mind. And I know in Greg Braden's new book, Pure Human, he talks about where you put your hand on your heart and you breathe a certain rhythm of breathing, and you think about someone, and you're sending a healing and you're connecting to them. You can read about that in his latest book. The competitiveness idea is, oh gosh, I don't know what to say about that. We can all win. There's enough for everyone. There's always enough for everyone. And I remember during some weird scare, like there was a toilet paper shortage, and I'm thinking, okay, there's enough for everyone. When you need something, it will be provided for you. This is the mindset we need to begin to understand. It's there. And then the reconciliation. Okay. Old wounds, forgiveness. We talk about forgiveness a lot, but how many people really, 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 it's like the lotus opening. the first part of understanding forgiveness and then going deeper and deeper and deeper until the lotus is completely open and you're in this place where you can access all the parts of you throughout all time space, all of that stuff, and help do conflict resolution there, reconciliation. Okay, now I want you right now, all of you, to ask your subconscious to help you make a list of those with whom you unconsciously hold a grudge. 1 and 2 are merged. So ask your subconscious to help you make a list of those with whom you unconsciously hold a grudge. And that could be anybody, teachers, those who practice in the spiritual world, they all have blind spots too. Anyone that you hold a grudge with. And anyone in a physical body has things that they are working on. So we're looking at, even the people that we revere as the highest teachers, everyone's working on something. So ask yourself, get your subconscious to help you make a list of those with whom you unconsciously hold a grudge. And start your list. And they might just come to you as like a song or a word or a thought, and you start making that list. Okay. Now, releasing anger, fear, and allowing reconciliation. How are we going to do that? So giving and receiving forgiveness at the deepest levels. So what we want to do is, with that beautiful subconscious list, and maybe even conscious list, is look at our actions, our thought forms, our patterns, our programs, and any harsh speech that we have used on any being throughout time, space, dimensions, realities, and timelines. So we are looking at, I'm going to use my rod here. I have my pendulum, but I like using this.
So are you asking us to do this as we're doing this together?
Yes.
Yeah. So people are writing things down and
yes.
Okay.
So giving and receiving forgiveness at the deeper levels, this is about releasing anger, fear, and allowing reconciliation.
Okay.
We're going to look at our actions, thought forms, patterns, programs, harsh speech, any of that. And you don't have to remember everything. You just know that that's coming up to the surface. We're asking a blessing right now that anyone who wants to participate with this clearing, we can look at karmic cycles. And I recently had to go through this, and I thought I had done all my work. Well, that was a mistake. Of course not,
Are we ever done?
Well, the karmic cycles are there and they exist. So any actions, thought forms, patterns, programs, or harsh speech at the deepest levels for you, and any karmic cycle for anyone who wants to participate. We're going to do that now. We're going to go back and look at all levels of your multidimensional being and as many of your karmic cycles as you can release, having to do with figures of authority, having to do with not feeling supported by God, having to do with being someone who was in charge who didn't treat people well. Any of these things, we're going to just lay them up on the altar of truth right now. Excuse me, if anyone that wants to participate, I'm going to do this right now. We're going to all do this together. You can run your pendulums. I'm running my rod counterclockwise. You can run your pendulum counterclockwise. Oh, there you go. I just felt a bunch of people kick in. There. It's still going. So what we're doing is we're looking at old karmic cycles and we're releasing our actions, thought forms, patterns, programs, harsh speech, things that were not beneficial.
And also all the things that we're still holding on to around anger and fear.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So as we release these karmic cycles, we drop into our heart and we begin to bring the self-love and forgiveness at the deepest levels, not just for ourselves, but let's work on ourselves right now. So forgiving ourselves, this is about love. This is about learning how to love yourself without having the idea of selfishness. Because I can tell you that if you talk to any of those enlightened beings about loving yourself being selfish, if it's done through the divine light and the ego is not involved, then how could it be selfish? Right? So we're still going here. Whoa. Everyone's still releasing. And send it all up. Don't send it my way. Send it up and out.
Well, and I know that we're doing this for everybody who is live on this call, but we know how energy works, and so those who are watching this in the future will also receive the same benefit.
Yes, and it's still going. It's still going. My rod is still going. I don't know about y'all's pendulums, but my rod is still going here. So we are looking at non-beneficial, just maybe self-destruct thought forms, patterns, programs, actions, things that we did that even spoke to ourselves or others harshly. Anything that we did within the karmic cycle of our life, we don't need that anymore. It's over. We're stepping into a new era of consciousness, and we don't need to bring these things with us, and we don't need them to remind us of anything. Some people keep these things to remind them of humility. Some people keep them to remind them of grace. Some people keep them to remind them of something, but I'm saying to you right now, that you are a divine light. You step forward and you do not need to carry these karmic cycles with you. Going. Don't give up. This brings us to gratitude and forgiveness, right? Forgiveness of ourselves at the deepest levels for maybe holding someone in contempt or holding ourselves in contempt. So now we'd like to release those karmic cycles involving others, that what they have done to us, any actions, thought forms, patterns, programs, or harsh speech they inflicted on us as we were growing and learning as well. So there's two ideas to this: giving and receiving forgiveness at the deepest levels for self and for others. Oh, there we go. Wow, that's nice. That's feeling good. So let's drop into our hearts. Yeah. Breathe love. Breathe in the causes of happiness and joy and love, and breathe out the causes of happiness, joy. We're going to share it. Not quite how Tonglen works, but we're going to adjust it for the moment. That looks good. How's everybody doing?
Very powerful. Yeah, if you want to put in the chat, if anything came up for you or your experience, how you're feeling.
And this will continue if you allow it. So you might dream something tonight, or you might hear a song, or you might see a sign, literally like a bumper sticker, or you might see an image of something, or a bird will come. This will continue to release for you as long as you would like it to.
Wow. I like to think of that as like those little self-cleaning scrubbing bubbles that are continually every day we get a little reprieve and just keep things shiny and clear. Yeah.
And stay in your peaceful, centered, calm, pure light. You are pure light. And so what we're doing is we're releasing these beliefs, right? We're releasing old beliefs about ourselves and others that they just aren't true anymore. They're just not true anymore. We're in a fast forward upgrade, and go with it. Go with the flow. It's awesome. It's awesome. Just go with it. You'll be dreaming more. You'll have more inspiration. You'll be feeling more connected. There may be like, a little bit of bumper balls, when you play that pinball. You might feel that a little bit, but never fear. Never fear. They're always with you. Source is there. Your healing team is there.
Yeah, I feel a little something in my throat. It's like
I also know that if you work with crystals, they're wonderful collaborators. And also, I've been teaching how to use constellation maps. So I'm working with now bringing the constellations down to work with us with the crystals. Here's an example of one I made for myself. And I have this kit that you can go through. So you get the book, you get the crystals, and you get the maps, and you create healing this way as well. So
now with the constellation map, you could have an intention that it would represent healing for fill in the blank.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you would always write beloved first. Beloved whoever.
Mm-hmm.
I learned that from a gal in the UK named Mary. She was a death doula. And she said, oh, whenever I make mine, because she came to a class. So I'm just going to back up one more time here and see how everyone's doing.
Our chat is quiet. I think everybody's still experiencing the clearing and the release.
Yes, and that will continue. And if you want to leave some message afterwards on the YouTube, that's great. You can leave a little comment, or if you want to write me directly, you can. Let me see, where's my stuff here?
So now that was pretty general. So is that like a general releasing to be able to receive miracles, or what if someone had something specific, like maybe they had a health concern or a financial concern or something like that? So would they have that intention initially, or you kind of go through this?
Are you talking about for this?
Not your constellation, but the process that we just did.
So when you look at something like finances or health,
mm-hmm.
and there's usually 5 things, right? Home, finances, health, relationship, and one other I can't think of at the moment. But success, probably. When you look at these items, so health, I go through my list and I would add karmic cycles to that. So, do I need to look at any karmic cycles in related to finances? Oh, look, there's a yes. Or do I need to look at my emotional level related to finances, or my mental level, or, going through that list? I would break it down, because we need the foundation in order for those instant healings to happen. We need maybe to know a little bit more, or maybe not. I mean, who am I to say? I think Harry Edwards was born pretty unique. I also know that Mabel McKay had a teacher that took her through her paces in order for her to do what she could do, and had her do chants and learn specific songs. So here, what we're saying is, this is a foundation that you can add these ideas to your investigative reporting. If you're looking for financial, or you're having a health issue, where do you start? Where do you go first? Well, are you connected? Are you grounded? Then you look at those, are there cords? The whole energetic space. And then you go through, is there an etheric body issue? Is there a mental, emotional, spirit issue? Now you can add karmic cycle. Is there a karmic cycle related to this? It's just this easy building foundation that you look at. Eventually you can start looking at other levels, even more,
So you just really train yourself to go through each level, especially if it's for something specific, and just ask questions and I guess douse. And then probably the more you do it, it'll be even more intuitive.
Yes. And you'll be able to hear. It's like dowsing in general, right? When you're dowsing enough, you start to get the answer before the pendulum or the rod. That happens.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to, should I, how are we doing?
We're doing great. So now, if someone wanted to go deeper, do you offer this as a class, or would that be more of a private session?
I teach all of these books. I haven't. I'm going to write a book on the etheric, the grid. The guidance, the rhythm, the inspiration, and connection to the divine. That book hasn't been written yet. It's coming. But all of these are really easy to do yourself, and I can teach them. They're all downloadable. This Dowsing and Constellations, Collaborating with the Stars, was amazing. It was an amazing book. It came to me in a dream. I had a gentleman, a Celtic gentleman. He looked kind of like an elf. Show me how to do that work. And I wrote the book from there. And it does land clearing and people clearing. And you just enlist the constellations. You go for the stars. I mean, we're star people. We're made of stardust.
We are made of stardust, exactly.
Our bones, our teeth, everything about us is the same. It comes from those elements. So yes, so I can teach that. So you can write me directly and tell me what you're interested in learning, and I can help you, or you can just go and get the books yourself.
But your books are I think they're small and pretty self-explanatory, right?
They're very hands-on, how-to, easy.
Yeah.
And then very easy to do. And again, they're all instantly downloadable, and you can read through them. I will be teaching classes. I'm just working on what classes are going to be the most beneficial for people right now.
Sure.
So I'm working on the cosmic energy updates, which I do, and the Wisdom Keepers of Earth interviews. Those are amazing. These are interviews with people who I really feel have, it was to give voice to Indigenous elders and those who have really excelled. White Eagle was my was my second guest, and he passed away, and he did a whole ceremony on the video. I don't know if any of you knew White Eagle, but he was a part of the dowsing community.
So this is your podcast.
Yeah, Wisdom Keepers of Earth. So I'm just coming out with a piece from John Two Hawks, who is Grammy and Emmy and nominated American Indian flutist. We just finished an interview. It hasn't gone live yet, but it will. And he has quite the journey. He did the memorial ride, the Bigfoot memorial ride in the winter, which is the same time of year that happened when those beautiful people were slaughtered at Wounded Knee. They do a ride every year.
I've got a question in the chat. It says, last time you said I could call on my spirit doctors for help too. Is that also included?
Yes. Call on your spirit doctors. Absolutely. We talked about Michaela Wright, who wrote a book called, I think it was called MAP, Medical Assistance Process.
Yes.
Her process is where you can lie down and ask for your medical assistance team to come. That everyone has, this is her process, everyone has a medical assistance team. And you lie down, you do not diagnose. You just say, I have a pain, in my neck, or I'm feeling this or that. You don't tell them what your doctor said. No, you just tell them how you're feeling, even if it's emotional. Because according to Michaela, they can see more layers than we know how to put out there. And so they're going to work on the layers that, we can feel, that they're going to help us with. So you just lay down and get quiet, get silent, go into that silent place that all those enlightened teachers talk about. And then you can ask for help with your spirit team. Absolutely, that can happen. And you can ask for the help of those, anyone. I mean, the spirit world is full. I mean, if you had any connection with Yogananda, ask him. If you had any connection with any of his teachers or any monks, or, if you feel a connection to any of those people that we brought, even, ask them if they would help you. It's not like you're going to have...
We're not limited.
Oh, we're not limited. You can ask any luminous being, as my friend Allie says, luminous beings, for a guidance and assistance. And, you want one, of course, that it's at the highest vibrational frequency. Hopefully they vibrate higher than you. So you want to ask for that and stay on the, they need to be this tall to ride the ride, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you want to have them be this tall to ride the ride. So vibrationally, you ask for the highest and most adept doctors on the other side, healing team, to work with you. Because they have noble work. They're doing noble work there. They want to forward themselves. They are also looking for a way to expand and grow and learn and be of service.
That's a great reminder. Thank you, Melinda. We are almost out of time. Was there anything else that you wanted to share?
I see 4 in the chat, but I don't. I'm just going to say, visit Wisdom Keepers of Earth. You'll love what they have to say. And that's how to get in touch with me.
Melinda Iverson, INN.com.
Yeah.
Perfect. And this will also be in the replay too.
Yes. I'm going to stop sharing my screen now.
Okay. I am going to, we had a couple things in the chat, a thank you, and Terry felt the need to yawn during that release and shook like a dog a few times. She says she feels much lighter. Thank you.
Excellent. That's wonderful. I'm so glad to hear it. I see Sandy's got a big smile on her face too.
Yeah, I think this was a wonderful, a wonderful process. Definitely by divine appointment. Our take two. I know this is going to bless lots of people tonight and also going forward. So, thank you so much. And if you guys found, if you want to reach out to Melinda, please do so. I think her books would be an incredible thing to add to your library and your tools. And if you found value in this program, please consider donating. So, all right. Until next time, I'm going to stop our recording. Thank you.